That's odd, isn't it? Huh. End stream. Says that I'm live, does it not? Yeah, it says that I'm live. Alrighty then. Let me reload YouTube. Oh, there we go. There we go. I do think. Is this working now? Are we back? Are we back? Says that I'm live, does it not? Yep. Okay, it looks like I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, everyone. I don't know what happened. It took a crap on me. That's a bummer. Because I lost all the chat. That means I lose all the chat. Oh, damn. Hey, what's going on, Brent Alderson? Looks like I'm going to lose out on the chat. So, shoot. All the chats that was up there, I lost them entirely. Wonder if I hit the old refresh here. No, it's not going to help me out. No. We're back. What's going on, Bruce McMillan? Weird, just get cut off. I know, right? Yeah, that is odd. Well, I say it is odd, but because of the massive amount of traffic, they're saying that these days, which makes sense if you think about it, everybody's on the internet now. And I do happen to have a pretty crappy internet connection. I was a defeated man. It's a great piece. Yeah, right on. Good one, Derek. I was watching you and it just got redirected to CBC. We must interrupt this dipshit libertarian to bring you some real news, right? Anyways, let me try to get to some of the things I wanted to cover before we get cut off again. How rude. Take COVID-19 out of the description or it's going to get deleted. Happen to. If they delete it, they delete it. If they delete it, they delete it. I can record on my end if I want anyways, so regardless of the fact. But I haven't done that for this. But anyways, let me get over to some of the stuff I was going to cover. So, shit, I can't share the screen. So you folks, like I say, I will place a link as I always do to these things in the bottom or the description of my video so you can check them out afterwards. But this here was out of Vice News, or Vice.com actually. Surveillance company says it's deploying coronavirus detecting cameras in U.S. Athena Security previously sold a system that it claims can detect weapons in video feeds. Now it says it's applying a similar approach to spotting fevers. So, better not have a fever out there because they're getting the facial recognition and all these things and heat sensing radar. Damn! George Orwell would be so like, yeah, I didn't write this as a prescription, right? It was a joke. It was a fiction novel. You're not supposed to do this for real, right? It's like, well, but they are anyway. So there's that. Apparently that's in the U.S., but who knows? Maybe coming to Canada. Maybe coming to a city near you. Yeah, let me close up that one. Okay, Trudeau. What a dipshit. Trudeau promises more Canadians will be covered by... So yeah, now he's claiming even students... Well, I covered that yesterday, how students are going to get... No need to go get a job or anything because there's not going to be any. But why is there no summer jobs? Because government's shutting fucking everything down. It's like they fuck it up and then they're like, but problem, reaction, solution, right? Government. We're going to fuck everything up. Then we're going to come along and say that we're going to fix everything and offer the solution. Meanwhile, they're the ones that caused the problem in the first place. Oh, this I definitely wanted to cover. This one's on the National Post. COVID-19 crisis. Most Canadians support bailout for media organization. Poll finds. The survey also found that most Canadians trust traditional media more than social media outlets to deliver accurate information during a crisis. Well, who the hell are these Canadians that they were talking to? This was reported by, let me just check here. Alan Donnelly, I guess. April 6, 2020. But really, though, who the hell were they polling? Because if you go to the establishment media, these traditional media sources, if you look at, because they're still, like if you go to CBC, they have a YouTube channel, right? Don't go to it. Sucks. But anyways, but if you do, you'll see that even on social media, which is still CBC, if the people that are watching on social media, so the younger people, right? Because a lot of the people that would be watching like even the establishment news on social media would be a lot of the younger people, right? That are more tech savvy and watch things on their smartphones predominantly. Not saying all old people aren't against it, but or against it and all that. But thumbs down. Thumbs. I mean, look at CBC, CTV, all these things when you see that they're overhyping things or misrepresenting or lying to the public or deceiving them in some way or making it political. You always see way more thumbs down than even thumbs up. So the like to dislike ratio is like way off. So, I mean, from my observation, it seems like people don't trust the established media, or at least those who see the established media on social media platforms. Now, if you're talking about traditional media, that's what? Just the newspaper? I mean, think about the kind of people that goes out today to buy a newspaper, right? Any millennials buying newspapers today? Probably not a whole lot, right? Even Gen Xers, probably not a whole lot, right? So think about the kind of people that they would ask these kind of questions during this poll. And I mean, that's the other thing about polls. Why are people willing to trust a poll anymore? I mean, especially after the election, not just some of the elections in Canada, the provincial elections, where the media outlets were all shown to be, oh, you're completely out of touch and off base with what your predictions were, right? But U.S., Donald Trump, right? Or the U.K., right? Brexit completely upended any pretense that these poll samplings are actually representative of the population. So once again, and think about it. National Post, even though there are some good contributors there, National Post and the Financial Post would be considered one of these traditional media outlets, right? So, gee, a little bit of bias there, you think? Traditional media is putting forth the notion that Canadians trust traditional media outlets more than alternative people on social media. Not only is it a conflict of interest, but pretty good chance that they're fairly well biased towards traditional media, considered they are traditional media. But I mean, come on. And once again, even I covered that in a post when I was sharing it on my social media pages yesterday, is even if, let's just put all that aside and let's just say, even if the true majority of Canadians, right, because we don't know that, they didn't ask 37 million Canadians, they asked a sampling of 1,000 people or probably 2,000 people and said, okay, that represents all of Canada, right? Bullshit. Depending on your sampling, you can skew that however you want. But anyways, even if you could put all that, like I said, put all that aside and pretend that they are correct, that the majority of Canadians, right, they support the bailout for these media organizations. Well, what about me that I don't support? Like, I'm definitely a Canadian, right? And we care about individual rights or minority rights in Canada, don't we? We still pretend that we care about minority rights, like, well, those in government. I know I always care about individual rights, and the individual is the smallest minority on the planet. But the hacks in the media and the political class, they still at least pretend that they care about the rights of the minority, right? Well, I would be considered in that minority because I definitely don't agree with the government bailing out the media. But I guess what they're saying is, well, as long as the poll says most Canadians do, well, fuck you, Bennett. We don't give a shit about your opinion. The mob rules. The mob overrides what you want. Pay up anyways, dipshit. Right? That's what, like I said, that's fucking forced association. That's that kind of authoritarian collectivism where it's like, who cares about the individual or a small group of people? No, you have to conform and comply to the mob, to the majority. And like I say, even the simple fact that getting bailout from government, what's government? Government takes money from private individuals through taxation, hashtag taxation is theft. Yes, it's fucking theft. And they redistribute it against people's will because they take it against your will. And they redistribute it to these media organizations that have obviously shown that they're failures, right? Because they wouldn't need a bailout if they were viable outlets and if people genuinely wanted to support them. If people genuinely wanted to pony up the cash to support these media outlets, there'd be no need for a government bailout. So they're already admitting by the fact that they need a government bailout that their business model just wasn't working anymore. But they're going to defend government stealing from poor people or the lesser or off or the ones that aren't part of the connected class to redistribute to give these large corporations to bail them the fuck out, right? I mean, how like I say, this dipshit, this Alan Donnelly, fail to the nth degree in terms of even understand what it is to be a free human being, or even what the whole economics, the underlying economics of it is. So once again, there's that. I mean, I'm so used to the fail these days. It's just fail. YouTube cut off high impacts video live press. So it seems YouTube's delivery, not necessarily epiphanist. Oh, epiphanist. Right on. Not necessarily epiphanist. It could very well be that. Now, I'm not saying that it's not. Could be that. You might be 100% correct. But it could just be that a lot of people are now trying to use up, this internet bandwidth, because like during the day there's a lot of people that are home today, so it could be just that, right? I don't know, but you might be correct. Once again, though, if I don't know it to be true, oh, hey, what's going on, Ronald Doucette? I see Ronald's in the chat, and once again, thank you, Ronald, very much. I appreciate the donation, and I did make sure, because I seen you had sent the link to two, like mine and my wife's. Trust me, I would never double dip on you, right? I didn't touch that. I left that, and the wife did do the whole thing this morning, though, so it's all sorted out. We got the donation, and thank you very much, Ronald. Once again, I really appreciate that help and the support. So let me get back to the chat. Okay. Vice, reliable news right there. Yeah. Well, hey, but that's the thing. I'm even CBC, but I mean, when they're reporting on something that's happening, you probably know that it is happening. It's just that their opinion afterward might misrepresent, right? So, even CBC can be right in terms of reporting on an incident, right? Now, the spin they're going to put on it is where it gets political. But, if CBC is reporting on the fact that, I don't know, Trudeau is, arguing with Trump about the mask, like who knows what's happening in terms of the actual argument about the mask. But the fact that Trudeau and Trump are having some thing about the mask, that's probably really happened, right? It's not like that part of it's fake. It's just the opinion or the perspective, right? It's the opinion or perspective a lot of times is what's creating the pretense of fake news. Yeah, don't worry, folks, like Official Blasphemy is saying. Yeah, don't worry, folks, all your rights will be given back and everything will go exactly back to normal. Yeah, right. When does that ever happen? Like, holy Christ, Canadians must be, not us. We're much smarter than the average bear, right? But, damn, I don't know people that are going to fall for that stuff, right? Sheldon Weeb, take COVID-19 out of the discretion or it's going to get deleted. Oh, no, actually, I already seen that. Sorry. But thanks for the advice. It's all good. Black Star Music Productions. I have a toothache and a fever. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yeah. Don't want to go to the dentist, right? Don't want to go friggin', they're saying even, I guess, ibuprofen might not be great. But I'm not even going to say anything about that stuff because who knows if it's true or not. But yeah, if you got a toothache, yeah, darn, right? Darn. Because I know, especially if they got to pull teeth, I've had a couple pulled teeth before, and they usually give you antibiotics and stuff, right? Although that might help in a way. I don't know, but yeah, that's rough because especially if you're stuck indoors and they don't want anyone. Well, I would imagine dentists would be considered an essential service, right? So, yeah, just it's a tough situation to be in, right? Particularly now, I guess. Although I would imagine some of these places are doing a pretty good job of trying to protect the public, but not necessarily, which I'll get to some of that stuff a little later on, too. I got some articles up there that I really wanted to point out. Don't worry, folks. Prisoners can do the work. Oh, no. Trudeau gets his science from Bill Nye, the science guy. Yeah. Pivanus, just now. Okay, I saw that. Address the guy who suggested in the last chat that libertarianism was created by billionaire conservatives. I find it's a common misconception among the left. Well, okay, yeah, that's good. So, all libertarianism is in the philosophical sense, right? Now, some people will use libertarianism for their own reasons, right? But that's the thing. Just because someone identifies as libertarian, like I could identify as a unicorn, doesn't necessarily mean that I am, right? I'm pretty sure I'm not. 100% sure, actually. But so that's the thing. You got to be careful with these labels because what I would do and what any wise person should do is what is libertarian? I mean, it's not hard to just type into, like I say, Google. If you don't trust Google, Bing, or read a book because libertarian or find a dictionary because even in physical print dictionaries, you can look like libertarianism and what it represents. But I'll tell you right now, libertarians or the philosophy of liberty has three fundamental principles, right? Self-ownership. I own myself. Property rights, so anything I produce or provide, right, it's mine. Nobody gets to claim ownership over it. And the non-aggression principle. Now, lots of people try to bring politics in it, but those are basically the three core tenets or fundamental principles of libertarian philosophy. So, like I say, don't hit, don't steal. Now, some people that want to cause harm to you, right? So think about it. If I was a manipulating type of person and wanted to trick you or deceive you, I would say, okay, I want everyone to be libertarians where everyone's like peaceful. They don't use preemptive force or violence. Same with religions, right? I want to get people to, like, the religious zealots. I want everyone in my community to, like, practice the 10 commandments and restrict themselves from never stealing or coveting their neighbor's wife or causing harm or murdering people. But if I can get everyone else to be peaceful, then me as the bad person, well, I can be that wolf in sheep's clothing, say, hey, I'm a sheep just like you, right? Now, not that libertarians are sheep, but I'm just using that as a metaphor, as an analysis, or I mean, just something to give you something to think about, right? As a metaphor. But so that's the thing. I could pretend to be a libertarian, or you could pretend to be a sheep when in reality you're a wolf, and you're only using that pretense so that you can get in among the sheep. And because you're a wolf and they're sheep, well, it's going to make for pretty easy dinner, right? Going to be like a buffet, right? Going buffet style. So yes, bad people will use the pretense of libertarianism, just like people have used the pretense of Christianity in the past for nefarious reasons. But once again, it has nothing to do with billionaires. Maybe some, corrupt billionaires. Well, that's the thing. Some billionaires, because, a libertarian, you can't have government, which is force, as the means to dictate economic outcomes, right? Because that's what a libertarian, when it comes to economics, says, okay, we want laissez-faire, free market, free people interact and engage in economically voluntarily, where everything's done voluntarily, no force used at all. A billionaire, to get to be a billionaire, has had to jump through a million hurdles, deal with so much bureaucracy and regulation. So some billionaires would want to be libertarians because they're tired of, they probably think, I have to squander hundreds of millions of dollars a year just to pay off all the lawyers for all the government bureaucracy, when I could be spending that in investing in capital in my infrastructure or my business, or hiring more employees. Or, some billionaires might like libertarianism just for the simple fact that they want more free market economics where there's not so much interventionism from the government, which is picking winners or losers. Because that's what big government is basically doing when they're intervening in the economy, is picking winners or losers. But there are some billionaires, might be just evil piece of shit, greedy motherfuckers, and they're like, well, yeah, if government has no control, I can just do whatever the hell I want. But the thing is, people that think that way is because people suggest that they care about the environment. So let's say there was the evil billionaires that just wanted to destroy the environment for the greedy reasons. Well, that would only rely on, or that would require everybody who was their employees or the consumers of their product to be willing to go along and do the exact same thing. But since most people in society would say, hey, I don't want the entire environment completely destroyed so my kids don't have a future, or whatever you want to use, or the water, contaminated so I can't even drink water, because everyone recognizes, well, I kind of need water to drink, right? Kind of keeps me alive. So even under that pretense, it wouldn't work. The pretense that billionaires could just do whatever they want in a free market environment is actually the exact opposite. Because in a free market environment, they can't do whatever they want. Just like in a free market environment, the financial crisis, all the bad people would have had to suffer. The good people would have been able to pick up the slack, start new businesses, right? And assume some of that market share, because you could have all these new entrants in small and medium businesses that would fill that void and do things in a much better manner. But what happened? Government intervened and picked winners once again in the economy. And the winners were the very same people that caused the economy to crash in the first place. Some of these billionaires that got real cozy with government and used government as a means to regulate their competition out of existence. Because that's the other thing. Some of these billionaires, some billionaires love using government to destroy any potential of competition. In Canada, Bell and Rogers are fucking, and even TELUS now, they're all famous for using government against the competition, or the CRTC, which once again is a government institution. So yeah, once again, anyways, hopefully I've answered that question for you there. Got to try to get through these a little quicker here. Free Joe Exotic. Hey, don't tell me anything. I'm only on 4. We only finished Latin, so no, I'm on 5. The next one we got to watch is 5. So yeah, just no spoiling my shit here. I'm one of those people that I like this element of surprise. So don't spoil it. And I know the minute I tell someone don't do it, they're going to want to do it anyways. Just because. Anyways, maybe I was some unknown guy. Maybe it was some unknown guy from Rebel News Industry Studios. Oh, anyway, so I hopefully answered that question for their official blasphemy. Government lied. The coronavirus was not contagious, not airborne. I don't know. True democracy, 51, enslaved 49. Yeah, that's what democracy is, right? It really is, folks. It really is. And because most democracies were established by people that would have been the aristocrats or the upper to middle class that didn't want to be ruled by a king or Caesar, right? it really was always a representation. Now, it was good for the aristocrats or the upper class to not have to be beholden to the edicts of the Caesar, right, or their emperor, but or for whoever's leading them. But it still always left out the serfs, the plebs, the sheeple, the minions, right? Minions have always been sacrificed at the altar, no matter if it's under democracy or any other form of authoritarian collectivism or any other form of governance for that matter, because those are the ones that have no power. Thanks, Black Star Music Production. Dead on. There are so many brainwashed Canadians these days. It's scary. It is, and it's a shame, and it's a direct result of our education system, the media, and the political class. It's the people that, like I say, the thought leaders, right? The thought leaders in this country have greatly failed so many of them, so many of our fellow Canadians, which is why I try to do the exact opposite and help in the best way I can to, and in the age of information, like I say, I just feel so fortunate to live in this time where I have this ability to do what I got to do what and I actually enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Even growing up, like I never get into it because, well, to become a teacher meant you would have had to go work for government. Right? Although there are such things as private schools, so I guess that's not really a legitimate. I could have went to a private school, although I don't even know if there's still a lot of bureaucracy and government red tape for that, right? But either way, I have kind of always been the kind of person I like to not just educate myself, but I could picture myself as being like having taken a teacher role, and a few people actually have even mentioned that maybe I would do a good job because I am a layman, right? I can just speak in plain language, so it doesn't. That's the thing. When you hear some people talk, and I understand the lingo, like I have a quite expanded vocabulary. I understand a lot of words. I can understand a lot of these people that are very technical and use these technical terms when they talk. But it's like, really, you don't know how to speak just plainly? Because like, what, do you just want to make yourself fucking sound smart to people? Is that what it is? Like to overinflate your ego? Because if you understand things well enough, you should be able to say it in very plain English that people can understand, which is why I try to do it in that way, so that no matter who you are, right? Even a young teenager could watch my videos, or anybody for that matter, and not have to not have to have a dictionary or a thesaurus sitting next beside them. It's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Like I say, clarity of mind creates clarity of thought. Clarity of mind, clarity of thought gives clarity to the language, and all those things together, if people have clarity, it allows them to think more critically about these issues, right? How you doing, Mike? Hey, oh, okay, you guys just talking to each other. Hey, Bennett, what are some online news sources that you like? Yeah, True North's good, especially Lindsay. Oh, speaking of that, let me get to. Well, actually, that's not up here right now, is it? Or is it? Let me see here. No, sorry. Okay, I thought I had, because there was another. Where did that go? Post Millennial does some good reporting. That's the thing. A lot of them, I would say, are mostly just a counter to leftist news outlets, because that's the thing. Canada's so dominant in terms of those would be identifying the left side of the political spectrum or the political aisle. So Post Millennial, good, and True North, Spencer Fernando. I haven't actually seen much for Spencer Fernando in quite a while, but there was some articles I remember that he was producing that were good. But it's still political in nature, like the opinion pieces a lot of times are very political in nature. So you're not going to get like, absolute truth. You're going to get a more of a right-leaning perspective. But like I say, at the very least, they offer an alternative perspective, right? Me, the biggest problem I see is, and I do appreciate all these folks, and some of them might even be somewhat close to being libertarian. Well, they're definitely advocates of freedom of speech. Mostly, I would suggest why they're mostly advocates of freedom of speech is because they're the ones that are speech. The right wing are the ones that are having their speech squashed these days. So they're the ones that are advocating for freedom of speech. Whereas maybe historically, if it was right wingers that owned most of the media outlets, it was the lefties that were wanting freedom of speech. So I'm all for people having options in terms of left versus right, like political rhetoric or biases and opinions and perspectives. All for it. Get that. But once again, there's no news sources in this country, even Rebel News, right? Right, they would definitely identify as right wing. But there is no such thing in this country as a genuine, that I'm aware of. Now, if you guys know any better, actually post it in the comment. Actually, yeah, not in the chat because it'll be really hard for me to find it. But post it as a comment, and I'll check them out. in the comment of this video, and let me know, because there might be some that I'm not thinking about, because I'm even trying to think right now. Like, the Sun, they have some contributors that once again, but they're all, it's once again in Canada. I'm trying to think, who are the news outlets that would genuinely be like giving you not a political perspective, but a truth, like reference, like, is it objectively true? Like, does it make sense? Is it consistent in its ethics or morality? If they're talking about the law, is it genuine? Like, does it respect genuine common law? Like under if you go all the way back to the Magna Carta stuff. Are you getting any? Like I say, I don't know of any. Now, I don't consider mine, Canadian Libertarian, necessarily a news channel, but I do obviously report on the news, and I try to offer, when I offer a perspective, it's not based on, is it a right-wing perspective or a left-wing perspective? It's an honest, objective pushback against the political rhetoric. Because like I say, I use the observation in terms of, logically consistent, right? Is it is there any universality to it? Like, I try to bring more of a science base, which is what science is, right? It's the pursuit of knowledge and truth, right? Because you can't politicize science, even though a lot of people are politicizing science today. But those are people that are failing. You would never try to politicize science and then try to send a spaceship into space. No, you have to stick to the objectivity of science. That 2 + 2 is 4. The speed of light's 186,000 miles per second. All that stuff, right? So that's what I try to bring to the table, is because I recognize that most of the time you're getting a left versus right perspective. Now, sometimes, at least because the left and the right are in opposition, they will hold each other to account and prove that each other's lying all the time. So at least there is a way, to debunk the myths from either side, because they both have a vested interest to try to do so. But once again, at the same time, especially when you're talking about politics, they all still are big. You won't hear anyone saying that government, like legitimate government is legitimate, and the use of force as a means to engineer society economically or socially is legit. You'll never hear anyone from the right side of the spectrum or the left side that are proponents of news. You'll never hear any of them say taxation is theft. You never hear any of them say that actually government is completely and wholly illegitimate, just like the kings and pharaohs in the past. Nobody today would believe, oh yeah, we should legitimately have a king, right? Nobody today would say, oh yeah, we should. Well, I mean, very few people would if they did, if they said that to your face, you'd be like, what? Really? You believe in kings and queens? Really? Like, this ain't fairy tale times, right? But, like I say, I don't know, me. I'm on it. I'm just being honest with you. Well, I mean, Stefan Molyneux can be very objective, but I find sometimes he's even bringing politics into things, right? So, I don't know. As far as that goes, it kind of does seem like a question set up to toot my own horn, and I swear to God I didn't get anyone to do that, but I would just say me. I would say, because I don't know. I am not saying that is, there probably are all other options out there that I'm just not thinking off the top of my head. But me. But I definitely, like I say, if you definitely want alternative perspectives, True North and Postmillennial are two. But there's another one I'm leaving out. I know there's another one that I'm leaving out for some reason. That's another good source. True North, Postmillennial. Who the hell else is it? True North, Postmillennial. Dang it. Like I say, Rebel got some good contributors, but once again, right-wing stuff. I don't know, folks. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hard time trying to think of them right now, but like I say, there are a few. If I remember, I'll add them into the description of the video later on. Ooh, I've gone way down. I got to get back up here. You can love your country without having to love your government is nonsensical. Well, no. Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, as Canadian, listen, we do live in a nation, right? I mean, until the day comes where we can convince the entire 7.8 billion people on the planet to stop believing in having to live on a plantation, right? So because that is prevalent and predominantly what most people believe in, then yes, we have to acknowledge, we have to function in reality. Like, as a libertarian, I recognize that we have to be pragmatic enough that we live in reality. So Canada is a country. So I'm all for, if you want to defend what you perceive as your backyard, right, which would be Canada, then by all means do so. Like I say, I'm not against civic nationalism because I understand we were all born and raised with that jammed into our head. So why would I want to turn around later when we've all been indoctrinated in this kind of psyche, right? And to go around and tell people you're bad for it. I mean, that's not fair. That's not fair. So yes, there's nothing wrong with the pretense of just don't let it go too far. Like to me, the only thing that concerns me about the nationalism thing is the fact that there are a lot of people that are really, really nationalists that would just more than willingly destroy my individual rights because I don't have that same sentiment, right? So I'm not against it at all because I realize how prevalent it was, even myself. Like I call myself the Canadian Libertarian, so I recognize that I live in a country, right? Not that I'm advocating, but to me, that's just I use the term Canadian Libertarian because I want to reach out and appeal to Canadians, right? I could have just called myself anything. I could have come up with lots of things. And actually, I could have had a much larger audience because I could appeal to Americans. Because a lot of people that appeal to YouTube channels and you appeal to like an American audience, I could have, because they have 320 some million people, I could have a much, but I want to appeal to Canadians. And people in Canada, they identify as Canadians. So yes, we're Canadians after all. At some point in time, we won't think such ways, right? Like sovereignty will be taken down, not just to the nation or not just to the individual provinces, but ultimately at some point in time, I want us to get to the point where we're all sovereign citizens, right? We don't need authoritarian collectivism or this false sense of we're just all one big happy family. Because in reality, like I say, it's not the case. And then that's the thing, when you use that banner of we're all one happy family, it allows the bad people to fly under the radar and pretend that we're all, like, it's like you say, it's like, I'm having to align with Trudeau or fucking Jagmeet Singh, the socialists, or any of these dipshits. Hell no, that's the problem with nationalism, because we're all in this together. Well, no, fuck, I'm not in that with you, Trudeau. Sorry. Or all of his mindless order followers, or Bill Morneau, or Stephen Polas, the governor of the central bank. I'm not in any of that shit with these fucks. I find these people to be absolutely evil and vile. So do I want to identify with them or align with them in any way? No, I don't. So really, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day with me. I nothing against the fact that, of course, we're all taught this civic nationalism. And I'm not saying that we should beat it out of everybody or anything. It is what it is. I just, like I say, all I care about is trying to expand on your mind so that people are thinking about these concepts more critically. That's all I care about. What you do with the information I give you, that's totally up to you. Totally up to you. You can ignore it. You can say Bennett's an idiot, which I get that too, right? So whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Okay, scrolling on down. Is money received from grocery shopping safe? Oh, you mean if you're touching Raymond Moore? Yeah. That's the thing, right? Because you can pass the germs on, and it does stay on surfaces. I would say that it has the potential to pass the virus. Well, especially if you're touching the money, and then after that, you're like, scratch your nose or put your finger in your eye or wipe your mouth, because that's, it can be transmitted that easily. So, it's just a matter of you just got to try to be as careful as possible, and just take into consideration that you're going to be at risk anyways, right? That risk happens all the time. Just like I was pointing out in my video yesterday, there's a risk of dying from smoking much, much higher. 1.2 million every year just in secondhand smoke, and a total combined of 8 million for those who actually do smoke every year. Now it's global, right? But still 8 million people every year are roughly in and around there, because it's going to change, it's going to vary, but based on the estimates from World Health Organization, roughly 8 million people per year die from just cigarette smoke. So even that, right? Even if you're around people that smoke, there's risk. There's always risk. Whatever you can do to mitigate or reduce the risk to you, especially depending on how concerned you are with it, once again, personal responsibility. Take that onus to do whatever you can, but you're not going to protect yourself from everything. Like, that's just not going to happen, right? Unless you dig yourself, burrow down, 20 feet down in some bunker, 3-foot thick concrete bunker, reinforced and with your own internal oxygen supply or whatever. I mean, that might do it, but hell, who would want to live that way, right? Faith was ruined by church. Libertarian was ruined by leftists. Well, like I say, if you allow them to take over what those words mean, then yeah, they've won it. But I would say libertarian has not been ruined Definitely not as of yet. A lot of Canadians didn't even know what the hell a libertarian is yet, so there's still lots of time to get people up to speed and up to date on that. But I know what you're saying, Malachi King. Yeah, you're right. Is people try to use the pretense of being religious or libertarians, and yeah, they do. They ruin it. But once again, if you give them the ability to do so, well, that means you've yielded to them and you've allowed them to take over the language and manipulate libertarianism to mean what they want. I say, hell no, right? Fight it tooth and nail. Oh, money is plastic. Anyways, when it comes to advice, when it comes to that stuff, I don't get into it. So dead on. Okay. Go research virus versus disease. Coronavirus can stay on surface for days and sometimes up to a week. The virus can only live outside the body for minutes. I'm hearing conflicting. Like I said, I don't know I know it. I've heard people say it's been days, but anyways, whatever they want to us, we feel fully comply and shame those who don't. We're going to find we're a lot more demanded in the future. Once again, and I would just say, now they know they can do whatever they want to us, and will fully comply and shame those who don't. Like, I would just say they might. I'm just not a fan of using the we when you're, because I won't fully comply, right? I'll do what I have to do, like to make sure I'm not putting anyone in harm. But if the government, no matter, like, I don't just blindly follow what the government tells me. Never have, never will. So just when you're using that word official blasphemy, I would suggest if you're in the same mindset anyways, well, maybe you are in the mindset. So, but I would just say, don't include me in that. Don't count me in the we. I'm not part of that we. You cannot get it off the money. Okay. No, I'm not. I'm probably no more. Okay. Speaking of shaming, look up suicide of corona victims. Folks would rather kill themselves than face social repercussions. Shaming of folks. Yeah, that's the other thing. And people ratting on each other these days. I hope no one's paying attention. Damian Quinn. There are billions of viruses around you. Yes, of course there's viruses. SARS is basic virus research. Don't forget lessons learned. Okay, it looks like everyone's just kind of talking back and forth here, so I can scroll down a little further here. I see sup mofos coming in kamikaze style. What the hell is that? What are these things? Fire, trees, water, boat, plane. Sanico. I'm on the fence about how this spreads, as it seems most of the epicenters are in old age homes, boats. Oh, speaking of old age homes, let me get to that actually. Let me scroll down here. So yeah, talk about seniors home. So, right, trying to shut down huge segments of the economy, right? And there was one in Quebec. Actually, let me bring them both up just so that I have them right here in front of me. So just like I was saying the other day, hell, you can't even keep drugs or weapons out of frickin' prisons, right? So government can put forth the pretense all it wants that, if you just do what we say, that we'll just be able to protect the vulnerable, right? And that's the pretense they're saying. Well, you better do what we say. You better stay the fuck home. You better do your this, that. Don't go outside. Don't do. They're telling you that, and the reason for that is they're going to protect the vulnerable, or you. They're going to protect you from yourself, which is like so fucked. I hate when government tries to pretend that they can protect me from myself. Really? No, you really, really can't. Anyway, so there's this one. Oh, there's a YouTube channel, so yeah, I won't open that up because it'll ruin my. But it was it's called Deadly COVID-19 Outbreak at Quebec's Long-Term Facility. I believe it was a CTV video. Anyways, I'll keep this open and I'll share the link to it in the description of the video as well. But this long-term facility is, apparently a lot of what was that? I won't quote the exact numbers, but quite a few cases that broke out in this Quebec long-term care facility. So even in a facility that's completely closed off, should be isolated from the public because everyone in these facilities knows what's going on. Like, it's not like people like, we're in these, long-term home. Is there a coronavirus outbreak? Oh, geez, I didn't know. They all know what's going on. So they should all be proactive in making sure that the people in these facilities, because those are the ones that are vulnerable, right? These are the ones that are really susceptible to the vulnerability and could potentially die, and some are dying, right? But yet, even there, they're not willing, they're not even capable. And you're talking about people that should be competent, people in the medical field, obviously in the medical field, if you're in one of these long-term care facilities. So people that are competent, knowledgeable in what they should do, people that have obviously, in their occupation practices personal protective or has the personal protective equipment, practices the kind of safety protocols because that's what they do anyways as a job. But yet, even in these facilities, it hasn't prevented an outbreak. So once again, locking down or shutting down entire segments of the economy or society, it's not even preventing the vulnerable people that are in an isolated venue or area that should have the best chance of being protected. That's just that one, like I say. But in addition to that, there's this one. Out of Toronto, 16 people died at Ontario nursing home before sick residents were separated from the healthy. So once again, these are people that should know what the fuck to do, right? I mean, even if they weren't told by Dr. Tam, their thought leader what to do, these are people that went into the healthcare profession and nursing homes. They should know what to do anyways. There should be some kind of protocol if there's any kind of, even if there's a flu outbreak or a cold outbreak in one of these facilities, because the flu happens every year. So they should at least know what are some best practices or measures or what can we do to prevent, people from dying. But apparently in this nursing home, 16 people have already died. So how many have been infected? Because if 16 people died, there's a whole lot more that were infected, right? Before the residents were separated from the healthy. So even the people in these facilities weren't fucking following proper protocol and caused the death. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits, man. The problem though with suing these places, especially if they're funded by government, is if you're suing these places, it's just once again putting that debt obligation on Bourne, who's going to have to pay it out, because governments don't pay for shit. But once again, there is going to be, especially if you lost a loved one because of this kind of irresponsibility, yeah, there's going to be lawsuits that are going to be taking place. Space constraints blamed for delay in separating patients at Pinecrest Nursing Home. An Ontario nursing home begged or besieged by COVID-19 didn't separate healthy from sick residents or staff until 16 people had died. And 2 weeks after the home declared a respiratory outbreak, CBC News has learned. The disease has claimed the lives of more than a third of the residents. Holy crap. Located in Bobcaygeon, Ontario, about 150 kilometers northeast of Toronto. I know I've been up to Bobcaygeon, pretty cool spot actually. A note last month from the home's administrator said residents had been isolated into separate areas, but that didn't happen until last week. So like I say, even in these places, they're failing tremendously. If this don't at least, like I say, to believe that government by decreeing or making these mandates or edicts or trying to suppress people from being able to travel at all or going outside or being gainfully employed, even all that is not preventing, even in these places that should be, like I say, if there's anywhere that should have the best chance at reducing or almost eliminating the potential of this kind of stuff from happening, it should be in these closed off facilities. But even in these facilities, they can't do it. So do you think they're going to be able to do it for a country the size of Canada, right? Once again, it's just all wishful thinking. It's all just rainbows and unicorns. And they're causing a lot of fucking harm to a lot of people. Like I say, not just the social, the mental anguish, the anxiety. Let me get into the anxiety bullshit there too, folks. But think of, and the economic harm, the depression that people are suffering, the isolation. People have already killed themselves from being, so all for what? Under a false pretense of safety and security that will be proven, like I said, it'll be proven that none of this is going to prevent bad things from happening. None of it. Anyways, yeah, so let's get to that. Like I was saying, here's another headline. Which one? Let me start with this one first. This one, CBC News, of course. CBC, wall-to-wall coverage. Ain't got no time for nothing else. Got to report on COVID. And just, it's all like it's, people are saying, why are people anxious? Well, I say, yeah, and I posted and people shared the memes too. It's like, yeah, hey, if you're fucking really anxious about this thing, well, it's probably because you're listening to those idiots in the media or your thought leaders or the political class that are whipping up this kind of fear and anxiety. So they're the ones that are causing the anxiety, because if you're not watching that 24-hour CBC News coverage where they're keeping you in that heightened state of fear and anxiety, you're not going to suffer it, because you're not, like, when you go outside, you're not seeing for yourself that, oh, look at all, there aren't people dying as you're walking down the street where you're like, oh, fuck, you're not seeing none of that. What's getting people in the heightened state of fear and anxiety is watching those sensationalized media hacks who are just they seem to love it. They seem to love this shit, right? I guess that's how they get the rocks off, that's their only form of excitement these days, which tells you how much of a fucking boring life they must have in their personal life, right? But yeah, Canada, anxieties over COVID-19 and possible personal protective equipment shortages prompted some healthcare workers to draft wills. And if there's a potential for a shortage of personal protective equipment, geez, whose fault is that? Government, once again, right? Who's in charge of that? The people that are the administrators in the hospital, the people that work for government. So government's failing all these fucking people. Government's failing you, and the media's failing you. And they're the ones that are, failing to provide enough personal protective equipment and causing people to be in this heightened state of panic or anxiety. So, and that was just for that. Yeah, and then, of course, the kids too, right? So this is another one out of CBC News Canada. She just started sobbing. Parents struggle to help kids cope with COVID-19 anxiety. It's a new, scary world. Oh, first it was, what? What, Greta, right? Oh, you better be afraid. Oh, the sky is falling. Now it's not the environment. Now they're not having the kids all in a panic or in a dither in terms of environmental catastrophe or climate alarmism. Now they've shifted over to the COVID bullshit, right? And now they're doing the exact same fucking thing again. Different peeps, but they would all agree and be aligned with each other on that political spectrum, no doubt, leftists, right? Are now getting the kids. Not just concerned about that the Earth's going to die or end in 12 years, which is like, well, then what's the fucking point? If the Earth's going to die, let's enjoy the last 12 years then, right? If we're all going to be dead in 12 years anyways, well, how stupid is it to put yourself in a miserable state or destroy your economy and all that stuff? Let's just enjoy it while it lasts, right? But no, I would suggest even saying this, act like it's the end of the world. Well, don't. You're causing that anxiety once again. And this is to kids, right? Why don't we wait for these kids to grow up just constantly? It seems like it's going to seem like, at least most of us, right? We had the nuclear threat stuff. But it's like the kids today are being raised to just like every week there's a new, the sky is falling, the Earth's fucking, going to implode or we're all going to die. I mean, yeah, there's going to be a lot of young kids today that are going to grow up as adults and be pretty fucked up. And it's all, like I say, because of these idiots in the media and their thought leaders who are failing them miserably and putting them in these heightened state, right? It's a new scary world, and for many children and young people has been soaring. It has led to soaring levels of anxiety. Anyways, I'm not even going to read it because especially for kids, I hate to hear about when kids are getting fucked over like this. It's to me, because as adults, stop doing this stuff to kids. I know you're all vicious and fucking vile and evil. Not you folks. No, they, right? Some of them are vicious and violent, evil towards each other, but damn, can you leave the goddamn kids alone? Let them be kids for a little while. Jesus. Even if you knew your kid was going to die in 12 years, let's say you knew that the world was going to end in 12 years, would you really want to keep them constantly in a state of panic all the time so that they can't even enjoy those last 12 years, right? Like, none of it makes any